Hello, everyone. It's time for the Tech Informist. This episode of the Tech Informist was recorded on Friday, February 27th, 2015. This is episode 38. If this is your first time listening to the Tech Informist, this is a show that is intended to help inform and educate listeners such as yourself about the latest tech news that we find interesting in the world of technology with lively and entertaining commentary about the latest news. My name is Kevin Harvell, and I'm also joined by JJ Hammond. JJ, how are you doing?
Well, Kevin, I don't have many friends. Doc, why you out here? I don't have many friends. And Wyatt is my friend. That's
All
all
right.
I'm doing.
Our weekly Tombstone reference, folks. Weekly Tombstone reference. So, people can get involved with us at the Tech Informist on Twitter. Actually, it's not the. You just find Tech Informist. You can also find us on Facebook, Google+, Instagram. Watch live over at thetechinformist.com/live to watch us, see the upcoming schedule, jump right into our live chat during our episodes, which welcome chat room. How is everybody over there doing today? Glad to see you again. Feedback, simply send that to contact@thetechinformist.com. We're also still, again, 1 week left on our Sensi Wi-Fi thermostat giveaway. For details and information on how to enter, visit thetechinformist.com/giveaway to get involved, get yourself entered. Approximate retail value of about $140 for the Sensi Wi-Fi thermostat. So it's time to move into this Friday edition of Tech News of the Day. Got plenty of stories lined up, a lot of things really to talk about. Both myself and JJ, we hope we have a great list of things to talk about for you today.
Yeah, honestly, this week is the polar opposite of last week because I feel like so much news came out this week that it was ridiculous. You know?
Wait till next week. Wait till Monday.
I know, but there's a lot of things we already know about next week. There was a lot of things for me that came out this week that we didn't know. Does that make sense? Like,
oh, definitely.
yeah. So, anyway, we didn't know how it was going to shake out. You know, FCC. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Soft card stuff. We're going to talk about all that today.
Oh yeah.
So, Kevin, you are up.
A lot of curveballs. All right, we'll kick this off with Apple. Apple has announced that they are going to live stream their new Spring Forward event on March 9th. Now, this all started coming out within the last day or so, that Apple's going to have a new event on March the 9th called Spring Forward. And it's kind of hard to say that it's going to be anything other than the Apple Watch information. So we are expecting pricing and official release date of the different versions of the Apple Watch. So it'll be able to be live streamed on apple.com/live. Obviously, if you're on a Mac or an iOS device, you will need to watch the event through the Safari web browser. Or you can also watch it on your Apple TV. We will be watching, and probably, depending on let's see, it's at 10 a.m. Pacific, so that is noon Central. So once we finished our episode of the Tech Informist, wrap that up at noon, we'll probably kick into a live blogging possibly of the Apple event on.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Oh, I have a feeling I'll be doing that. So looking forward to that.
Right. No, that's cool. So, I wonder if they're going to have as many issues as they did with. Oh gosh, what was that? Was that?
The September.
I remember you were at my place and we were like, I think we were watching it on the iPod. I think that was ridiculous.
Yeah, there is. When you've got multiple devices, you're trying to run this thing on. It's just trying to get the bandwidth for the demand. It's tough, but hopefully they won't have the first 30 some odd minutes of it being foreign language and stuff. So people in the United States can hear it in their language, and people in other countries can hear it in their language. I just hope it's not a big debacle.
Hmm.
Live streams are really tough. I think so. We'll see. Hopefully, it'll go smoothly, and it won't be. There'll be more talk about the Apple Watch instead of how bad the stream is.
Right. Spring forward. When does spring officially start? Do you know? If
The
only
8th.
there was a way to.
Yeah.
No.
You
Um,
spring forward on the 8th.
by the way, Kevin and I have this funny thing we do to each other. We pick on each other a little bit. We did before the show, and we're
Bully.
going to continue probably for the rest of our lives.
Big
But
bully.
yeah, so we do this thing where we say, I don't know, or whatever, and then we go, if only there was a way we could find out the information we want to know. How would we do that? And we say that kind of mockingly because we have obviously a ridiculous amount of devices that can find that answer probably in a few seconds. So if you want to mess with other people, just say, if they ask you a question and maybe you don't know, or if they say something and they don't know, just be like, if only there was a way to figure that out. And now it's become even more easier on all platforms because you can say, hey, Cortana. You can say, okay, Google. Oh, crap, I think I just turned something on.
You probably did.
And you can say a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's hilarious. Try it out. When you do it, you're gonna laugh, and that's what we do here. We try to provide a little bit of
Simple, clean humor, folks.
yeah, simple, clean humor. Are you trying to call me stupid? So if you all can buy a Microsoft Band, you should. Please. I'm asking nicely. Now, I say if you can, meaning that if you can get it in your country or however you want to play that scenario out. So I'm just going to say it. Pebble, whatever, guys, whatever. But here is the story. Pebble CEO is said to have an issue with Microsoft as a company as a whole. Microsoft had an active working Pebble app internally that would work with Windows phones. However, Pebble doesn't want a Windows Phone app for whatever real reason. So again, I hope those of you who listen to this show and use Pebble and iOS or Android, rock on. Keep doing what you do. But to those of you who are looking to get into the smartwatch or wearable device market, get a band if you can. And speaking of the Microsoft Band, so the two stories that I read about this stuff, obviously Windows Central, Richard Devine, Daniel Rubino, all those guys, we really just, we love you guys. In a professional way just because of how well you guys do on reporting. So on Windows Central, they talked about this scenario, the Pebble / Microsoft issue that is what it is. And they also talked about the updates that were made. Now, on another show, MS Mobile Show, I'm going to be talking about integration with Health Vault and all these other new features that the band offers. Now, its initial release of the Microsoft Band wasn't exactly awesome, but it did what it said it was going to do at first, and now it does so much more. I love this thing. I'm wearing it right now, and it's great. I couldn't be more happier with it. But some of the changes that you'll see is actually some UI changes, and you'll also see some new functionality. Meaning, here's something that's so simple, Kevin. When you plug it in, and you have it on watch mode to where it always shows you the time, instead of the watch face being on when it's plugged in and obviously not on your wrist, it didn't shut off. It still showed you the time. Well, guess what? Now you can hit the button on the bottom, and while it's plugged in, and it'll turn that off. And now it doesn't shut it off, so if you unplug it and put it back on your wrist, the watch face comes back on. But it's just little things and little feedback deals that are great. So again, if you can buy a Microsoft Band, you should. I love it. I would recommend it to anybody. I really don't care what anybody else has to say because their opinions really don't matter to me. But for me, it's great. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Pebble, the Microsoft Band, this kind of story in general? Let's try to keep it on the non-R-rated side.
Yeah, I'm liking this new update. For some reason, mine didn't get the keyboard, so I don't know if that's just like rolling out in phases, or if I really just need to dig into it a little bit further and see. But I do like how you can press the action button and it'll like it'll kind of read it to you in a way, word by word of whatever the notification is. I kind of like that because sometimes on the smaller display it's kind of tough to see. And going back to the Pebble story and this whole Microsoft thing that Danny Rubino, which by the way, this is an excellent article. If you have not read it yet,
Mm-hmm.
it's very informative, and it's not like he's really taking sides. It's just talking about the Pebble CEO and if this stuff is true or not. I mean, obviously, he's going to be sitting there trying to, cover his behind. Oh, well, no, that's not the case at all. Obviously, you're going to be trying to play that off. So we'll see. Either way, it's a great article to read, and it's very disappointing that Pebble would be so, if this is true, that Pebble would be
Mm-hmm.
so
Right.
short-sighted on
Right.
this and closed-minded.
Right.
Because if you've got a company with as much money behind them as Microsoft, and they're offering to basically do all the heavy lifting
I mean, they,
for
they they wrote the app, you know. I mean, they literally built the app for him. They just said all we need to do is put your name on it and put it in the store. I mean, you
yeah,
don't you won't even need to update it if this reporting is true, which I trust Daniel. I think his reporting. I trust his reporting. I feel like this is
yeah. Oh, I agree too. And I mean, just to kind of like piggyback off this, the Pebble time has eclipsed the original Pebble like within 2 days, the total that it had raised. With 28 days to go, it is currently sitting at $11,157,143 is what that Kickstarter for the Pebble time is sitting at the moment. That's crazy. And they were only looking for 500,000.
blah blah blah, pebble 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 blah blah blah, pebble blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just you know.
I don't know, it kind of, I mean,
I mean,
I've
I'm
used,
sure. Look, I'm sure the CEO doesn't speak for the whole company. I'm sure that the whole company doesn't have a problem with Microsoft. They probably care less. They're like, hey, why don't we have this on all platforms? I mean, even BlackBerry. I don't care.
it
Whatever.
makes the most sense. It's not like Microsoft saying, "Hey, you've got to do all this if you want to be on if you want to work with our devices, you've got to do this, 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 and this." Microsoft already did this, 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 and this for to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why would you, handcuff yourself keep from being able to use another? I mean, sure, it might only be 2 point some odd percent of the market of people that you can sell your devices to, but that's people that you can sell your devices to
Mm-hmm.
regardless. So
Right.
it doesn't make any sense because Pebble's in a, they're going to have a hard time with, I think, overall in the next couple of years as more and more companies get on board with Android Wear, Apple Watch becomes, released and is actually a thing. I just don't see a whole lot of. I mean, the only thing they really honestly have going for them is one, price, and two, the amount of time the battery will last.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they have going for them.
Yeah, when you talk about Android Wear and how powerful the Android ecosystem and obviously the mobile, how much market share it has, and how nice Apple's interface is going to be, how nice, Samsung, they're going to keep throwing this against the wall, and eventually they're going to figure out, what consumers are really going to enjoy, to have on their wrist. They're going to figure it out. I mean, it's just like the Samsung Galaxy S stuff. I mean, they throw, and eventually something's going to stick. So I don't see a very bright future for Pebble. Others would disagree. Again, I really don't care. So I would just say that for the most part, they're going to have their niche market. They're going to have their thing. I kind of spoke a little positive about Pebble in the past, but you're not going to hear me talking about them much going forward. Kevin, you're up with the next story.
So Qualcomm is typically the chip maker for the majority of smartphones out there today. Snapdragon processors that
Mm-hmm.
everybody know and love. They have announced that they're extending LTE to unlicensed spectrum to
Mm-hmm.
enhance the mobile experiences and help operators meet network capacity demand. Now, what this is all about, they're going to show off some new solutions with a number of LTE. U, which is unlicensed.
Mm-hmm.
Demonstrations at Mobile World Congress next week in Barcelona.
Right. Barcelona.
And here's some information. As the internet enters the new phase of growth in which more devices are connected and share richer data, there's a need to cost-effectively address the challenges of a 1,000-time increase in mobile data traffic. To do this, we need a combination of more spectrum, more efficient use of existing spectrum, and more small cells, said Matt Grove, who is the executive vice president of Qualcomm. He says their job is to help make the industry make the best use of all available spectrum, both using LTE and Wi-Fi technologies, to increase the capacity. So by expanding, some of the benefits of this is reliable and predictable performance with an anchor in the licensed spectrum, seamless user experience and mobility, better performance than either LTE or Wi-Fi that are used individually, with longer range and more capacity, and also additional capacity for carriers to augment mobile broadband. So I think a lot of this is going to help alleviate some of the issues of when you're at big events and things like that, and you always hear about Verizon and AT&T, for Super Bowl or World Series or big playoff series games that they've got to bring in these temporary cell sites to help deal with the influx of users that everybody's going to be using their cellular devices at these events and stuff. So I think some of that's going to help out a little bit. It's going to also operate in a single channel in the unlicensed 5 gigahertz band. So for those of you that have newer routers for your home internet, you notice you've got a 5 gigahertz band and then the standard 2.4 gigahertz band, and you can kind of choose between the two. Well, this is kind of the same thing, but on a cellular level, so outside the home with LTE. So looking forward to seeing what comes with all this, but I know Qualcomm is going to be dealing with was it Exynos?
Yes.
Which I think Samsung. Yeah, Samsung's
Exynos. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and people who obviously listen to the show and who like this sort of stuff, it's interesting to pay attention to these chip makers. For the longest time it was just Intel, and then the rise of mobile and Qualcomm and the Snapdragon. I still didn't understand why Qualcomm needed to even spend money on the Snapdragon commercials, like on television, because I was like, who gives a crap? I mean, nobody walks into a store, no one, and if you do, you're a one-off scenario, unless you're educated, whatever. And says, hey, I saw this Snapdragon commercial. I want something with the Snapdragon processor. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and you're pretty much, the retailer will be like, okay, everything you see here, there you go.
Yeah. For the most part. I mean, some not so much, but,
That could be changing soon. We'll see how the success of the Galaxy S6 and...
Yeah, well, the initial rumblings about the heating issue, that was something that was kind of interesting. And I wondered, with the release of so many different devices, and I would like to get people's feedback on this, with the release of so many different devices, right? Like device, it's got to be bigger, it's got to be faster, it's got to use less power but provide more in this, and it's always the same thing, right? Eventually, one of these manufacturers are just going to reach a point where they're just like, I know we got to push something out the door, but it's just not a good, it's just not a good idea, And I wonder if the manufacturing space is running into this a little bit. Do you think so, Kevin? I mean,
yeah,
here they are producing. I mean, you're going to have a product. I mean, how fast the cycle is for these. It's every year you got to have bigger, faster, stronger, smaller, right?
Yeah, multiple levels for different price points of low-end, mid-range, and high-end devices. So, I mean, the next sexy thing is the 810, which you'll be hearing a lot more with the G Flex 2 and the HTC One M9. So that's all coming down the pipe.
Yep. Give me one.
1 second. 1 second, he says. I'd like to also see, we've got Ed. Welcome, Ed, to the chat room. Glad to see you could make it today. Got Tech Nils, Raw, Brad.
Okay, so what
people viewing. Nice.
Yes. So what we do before the show sometimes is Kevin and I figure out, as we're talking back and forth, what our listeners like why we talk about the stuff we talk about. So like I'll ask Kevin, I'll say, hey, why did you pick this story? And the last story about Qualcomm was kind of interesting because I said, why did you pick that? And he was just like, well, it's interesting to note the different ways in which Qualcomm is trying to integrate the LTE on such a small device with the processing power of the Snapdragon 400. Now, Kevin recently did and will push out a review of the LG G Watch R, and that has Snapdragon 400, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes.
And so it's really interesting to see how such a small device, can have LTE integration. And we might not necessarily think, the first thing that comes to mind is the phone, right? Like a phone on your wrist. Nobody wants that, whatever. But if you think about it just being a connected device and being just a part of the Internet of Things and not necessarily needing a phone to be a part of it. So if you're out on a run or you're out on a this or a that, you're maybe not going to answer anybody right away. On a phone, but you can kind of keep up with everything that's going on, right? I mean, you can walk and look down at your wrist at the same time without falling down. At least I hope you can when you're out on a run or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this space, and that's why I wanted to reinforce kind of Kevin's story there, because it was a good choice. Because believe it or not, there was a ridiculous amount of stories, and we had to kind of suss through some stuff that actually we thought you guys would care about. All right, so next up is mine. I apologize for my brief little stint there, but Microsoft's reasons for Windows 10's new browsing rendering engine are revealed. So I watched this episode, or not episode, I'm sorry. I watched this video, rather, on Microsoft's new rendering engine, and I think they're going with Edge. I think that's what they're calling it. Yeah, codename Project Spartan, but I'm pretty sure they're going to stick with the whole Edge naming. So whatever. I liked Spartan. I really did.
I know.
I mean, Cortana was gorgeous. They stuck with the name because it was Project. I think it was. I don't remember what it was. Oh God! Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
She came alive. Okay. Anyway, so I love you, baby.
Oh. Okay.
So here we go. Kevin's like, oh, geez. So the reason why I bring this up is this was a really awesome. Like I'm going to kind of encapsulate this a little bit. It's finally an application from Microsoft that we can see that's going to be a store app that I would think is going to be cross-platform. Like a browser that learns, right? Instead of just this. I mean, sometimes when you're using Internet Explorer on the desktop, you're like, oh my God, this is the worst experience ever. But I really like the mock-ups, and I hope that the new Edge engine offers a lot as far as what they're saying it can do. Because before, like if you're building a website, Kevin knows what I'm talking about, is if you're building a website out, you got to account for all the different versions of IE, and that can slow the time it takes for a site to load up. And that can be a lot of problems because, hey, if there's one thing that the consumer wants above anything else, it's we want it fast, we want it now. I don't care if it's not secured and if they steal everything from me. I want it now.
That's right.
For free.
It's not dial-up, folks. Right.
So this was interesting to me. I have a link to the actual. Now, for those of you who aren't Microsoft's fans, I get it if you don't care about this, but for those of you who just kind of want to know, technologically speaking, what Internet Explorer is becoming, like what the future of this product looks like. You're still going to have your old version, sure, but what the future for browsing is going to look like. Take a look at this. Lately in the news, with the Superfish or whatever that was from Lenovo and all this other kind of stuff, I'm going to reach out to some security people because one of the things that I've noticed the most with all this stuff is Komodo or whatever and all this other kind of stuff. Advertising on the web has become such a weird experience for me because I will notice advertising slots on my mobile experience or my mobile phone, like mobile devices and that, and I'll just be like, I didn't necessarily give that. Where are you pulling this information from? And these cookies and these tracking IDs and all this other kind of stuff. I'm just like, at what point do we sacrifice so much, to gain the information that we want, you know? And where does this line end? Like, how deeply integrated are some of these things? And the reason why I'm bringing this up, talking about the Edge engine, is Microsoft is trying to offer something that is secure on a app and OS level, right? I'm really interested to see this space, man, because privacy, security, you know, and all those kinds of things, they're really important to me. It's one of those things that people fight and die for, you know, and I think that we should. I know I'm kind of getting off on an altruistic topic here, but I think we all need to pay attention. Like, what are we giving up to get the stuff that we want? You know what I mean? So you're up with your next story.
All right, so we've all seen commercials and we've all seen the sale ads for Rent-A-Center.
I love this story. Thank you for doing it.
Now, I don't have a link to this, but it is a commercial as I was watching some TV last night, which is kind of rare. I was actually just sitting on the couch with the computer and getting some work done and had TV playing in the background, and this commercial popped up from Rent-A-Center saying, you know, you can buy the Galaxy Note 4 on, you know, using Net 10 prepaid services. You can rent that from them, or actually lease that, for $35 per week for 78 weeks. Now, I did the math just to kind of see, you know, how much that would be, and it was $2,730.
Whoa.
Now,
Kevin
people
just did math for you all.
Yeah, without a calculator here. So, the moral of this story is, do not go to Rent-A-Center. Do not let anybody, you know, kind of like the whole friends don't let friends drive drunk. Well, friends don't let friends and family go to Rent-A-Center. Because, you know, you could, if you wanted to buy this off contract, for example, a Note 4, you could probably get one for about $800. And it's just like, gosh, $2,730. People actually do this kind of stuff. People spend, you know, $1,000 for an Xbox One or something like that, or they'll spend $1,500 for a $400 TV. Just don't. Just don't. Save your money. Just don't. I was like, it's terrible. It's terrible, terrible. It just irks me, the fact that they cater to a certain demographic, and it's like, just stop preying on them.
Yeah, you know, so one of the things that frustrates me a little bit is I feel like this happens overseas too, but I feel like that this divide between the rich and the poor, I mean, it's just one of those things that just irks the crap out of me, you know? Like people are already poor, you know? You don't need to exploit them any further than that, right? Like, whether it's their quote-unquote fault or whatever, I mean, charging somebody $2,000 for a friggin' phone? What are you, insane?
Almost three.
Almost $3,000 for a friggin' phone. You're just like, oh, son of a...
Yeah.
You're like, this is the kinds of things that drive me insane. That drive me insane. It's not fair. It's not right, and I kind of want to smack somebody in the face for it. So thank you, Kevin, for that. All right, guys and gals. One of the things that's very important to me is a free and open internet. So I'm going to blaze through the net neutrality stuff, because especially for our listeners who are in the chat room overseas, they're like, "Oh God, please stop!" But this is hilarious. There's a picture of the 3 people who voted for keeping the taking broadband under Title II regulation of the FCC's blah, 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 blah. You quit listening to me. Okay. So President Obama, yay. AT&T, they want litigation in Congress, undoing everything, darn it. Republican lawmakers say this is what they want to do. They want to stop the White House no matter what. Verizon mocks the FCC with the typewriter font, making fun of them. Comcast is not a fan, obviously. Senator Al Franken, freaking hippie, he likes it, whatever. So does Kickstarter, so does Netflix, but they're like, oh yeah, but don't forget about interconnection. And it's like, you know, when you get a win, right? This is always the complaint that cracks me up, right? Like, there's a win. Somebody wins something, and then they're like, but don't forget that, you know what, just celebrate the win for just a second. We'll move on to the next thing later, but okay, whatever. This is hilarious. The Motion Pictures Association just wants everybody to stop torrenting movies. Duh. John McCain promises Congress will correct the mistake. Whatever, dude. I don't even think you understand what the internet is. Microsoft is pleased, but looks forward to reading into the rules. Of course, you know, that's very pragmatic. Whatever. Tumblr calls today a monumentous thing. Broadband for America. I didn't even know that was a thing. They're not happy about that. MoveOn.org couldn't be more happier. The Electronic Frontier. By the way, you learn of all the different groups who are out there when stuff like this happens, because I had no idea that there was an Electronic Frontier Foundation. All right, wireless carriers say the FCC just put our 4G future at risk. You know what? That's BS. The CEA, I don't even know what the heck that is. Title II is the wrong approach. Whatever. What is the right approach? Same goes for U.S. Telecom, telecommunications. Hilarious. I thought not the chat room. Sorry. I thought all of you would just get a kick out of that little rundown. Good job to. I want to give this guy credit because it was hilarious. Chris Welch from The Verge, which I don't say that a lot because I'm not a big fan of them for the way they treat Windows stuff. But you know, whatever.
It seems to be a common trend among websites and businesses these days for some reason.
Seems to be a common trend.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, first of all, yes, I would take $3,000 for my phone. So, but depending on where that blood money came from, I may turn it down. You know, I do have principles, believe it or not. I'm poor, and I need money, but I have a problem with what's in our phones. I have a problem with where it comes from. In fact, we did a story on that before.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
It was about what
the minerals and materials that are used to make your phone.
Yeah, and a lot of that. Yeah, and a lot of that comes from a book that was written back in the '60s. The Ones Who Leave Melis. Look that up. I'd like for everyone to read that story. It's amazing. Hypocrite with a smile. I love that. So you're up, Kevin.
All right. So Google has officially bought the NFC payment software SoftCard that many people use on Windows Phone, Android devices, and have almost immediately announced that they are pulling the app from Windows Phone. Now, I think this is just. I'm so tired of Google and Microsoft and it's terrible. I use SoftCard from time to time, and I've talked about it before. It works really well. Works very, it's very simple to use. Just punch in your PIN, tap the thing. It just works really good. So really disappointed in Google for doing this and taking this service away. So I guess Microsoft's going to have to come up and kind of do their own thing if they want to continue making their devices have this, ability. I just hated to see that, and it just has not been a good week for Microsoft and companies wanting to work with them in their services.
So. Yeah. They can't catch a break. They really can't. And by the way, thank you, chat room, Eddie G023. Thanks for teeing me up for one of my favorite quotes from a movie ever. But since it's Tombstone Friday, you teed me up nicely. It appears my hypocrisy knows no bounds. Because he said I was a hypocrite. So thank you for teeing me up for that. So the positive thing that I do want to say about this story, because that's what I try to do here, is this is definitely something for Google that can help them in their quest to offer a Apple Pay scenario for their Android devices, right? So those devices that are going to be coming out over this year, so the LG G4, the Samsung Galaxy S6, HTC M9, the new one, all those kinds of things, we can kind of see what their story is going to be a little bit, and because Apple Pay has taken off, and people are, not people, but banks are they're signing up new people all the time, and I think I definitely think that this is good for Google to have the rights and the ability to offer this as a service. Wouldn't you think so?
Oh yeah.
So my next story here is awesome. Google and its never-ending flip-flopping. So many initial sites on the web were and are blogging sites now. Blogger is a very popular blogging site software and hosting that Google and Microsoft uses. It's even integrated, I believe, in Word and Office 365 and so on. Google earlier in the week said that they would remove accounts that show explicit content, so porn. Sad day for porn lovers. But there was not a so shocking turnaround. So it's so funny to watch the roller coaster that is Google, and only because there is just so many moving parts to that company. So I just want to be clear on that. But this shocking turnaround from Google to allow those sites to continue on. So we will have to see what happens tomorrow. But as of today, the ban on sites that have this this sexually explicit content on it for adults. Some of these sites have been running for 10 plus years. Can you imagine the amount of spyware, malware, viruses that those 10-year plus sites have?
Yeah, I mean, Blogger's been around for a long time, and
Long time.
can't really think of anybody that still uses it off the top of my head. Maybe chatroom or other people who listen to this later can inform me about websites and people that actually still use Blogger. But I mean, I know it's free and it's through Google, and I've just never done anything with it seriously other than, I mean, I like set up an account or something with it, but I did not go anywhere with it. I was like, I don't want to mess with this right now.
Let's see. Okay, so yeah, that's. But Blogger's interesting. I think once you start censoring something, I mean, it's this rough area, right? It's again this hypocrisy thing. It's like I want everything to be open, but I don't want people to show beheadings and all that other kind of stuff. And I know some people don't want other people to show porn and stuff like that. So I think it's tough. Any kinds of regulations can be, or not regulations, any kinds of monitoring, we'll say that, can sometimes be partial or impartial, and it's a rabbit hole effect that happens. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, just got some really bad news for Star Trek fans. Leonard Nimoy has passed away at the age of 83.
No, really?
Yes, that is.
Son of a.
That's on The Verge right now, actually.
God. All right, so
sad day for sci-fi fans of Spock.
Well, live long and prosper, brother man.
Amen. But I know one thing that he would definitely want to message is don't smoke, because that's one of the, he had chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is a lung disease that he attributed to years of smoking. So I know that's one of his biggest regrets, that he wishes that he would have never started smoking.
Yeah, when I see people smoke now, I'm like, holy crap, that's so 1990s. Or I think about Mad Men. I mean, I watched a couple episodes of Mad Men. I would like to watch the whole series because I think it was a good show about that time period, I think. But do you just see how many people smoked back then? You're like, oh my God.
Oh, so, yeah. You watch
back
older
when
TV shows, and it's right there in the. Yeah, it's like now you won't hardly see that at all.
Public announcement: cigarettes can cure anything. No.
No.
What's amazing? I wrote a paper back in the day about cigarettes and their advertising, and some of the advertising you come across, how many doctors recommend smoking, how many doctors smoked while they were in seeing patients.
I know.
It's just amazing.
Wow.
You're like, holy moly, that's insane. All right, so Kevin, can I move on to a new segment?
Yes.
I want to hear feedback on this issue. I want to hear what you all think of the hamburger menu, not just on mobile sites, but on applications? The reason why I bring this up is, just briefly, I just want to say, my wife, who hates talking technology with me, not just because it's me talking to her about technology, but just because she doesn't like talking about it in general. And I said, what do you think that thing in the top left-hand corner is? Sometimes it's in the top right-hand corner, but for argument's sake, let's just say that it's in the top left. She goes, I don't even know what it is. I don't care. I'm not going to tap on it because it looks like it's a part of the banner. Whatever. It's like, it was like pink or something. I don't know. It was like, because it was just a part of the site. And I said, what do you think of when you see that? And she's like, I don't think anything. I don't, So then I'm like, go ahead, tap on that, see what happens. So she taps on that, and then it opens up, and she's like, oh, it's, home and, all the different tabs that you expect to see when you're in a normal browser. Now, most people hate the hamburger menu. Now, what the hamburger menu is, it's 3 lines, horizontal lines, evenly spaced out. And it sometimes they're different shapes and sizes and all that kind of thing. But it's one of those things that it's such a divisive issue. I want to know what all of you have to say about the hamburger menu. Kevin, do you want to chime in on this at all?
I mean, my thoughts on the hamburger menu is, I like some of the transitions. Whenever you press the button, some companies, they make it where it spins and turns into a different image. I like that, and it just, I like the uniformity across the majority of platforms that, when you see those 3 lines, you know what it is. And I think it's better to have 3 lines than opposed to, 3 dots, a horizontal row of 3 dots or something like that. So I like that, and I like it always being, whether it's top left or top right. I just wish companies would say, okay, it's just always going to be on the top right, or it's always going to be on the top left, and just a little bit more uniformity, I think, would be nice.
Brad, good point. I think a lot of people start to get used to it, because if you go to any site, you're gonna see the hamburger menu. And in fact, on Firefox and on Chrome, Google Chrome, it's a part of the top, kind of ribbon that you see. Right now, I'm looking at the top right-hand corner. Boom, on both sites, on both things. I don't think Internet Explorer has that. They have like a little gear. I think the gear that represents settings is a possible kind of something that could be manipulated there. But I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about it. There are, the 3 dots, the ellipses, or whatever. That's hit or miss, just because people who aren't into technology or whatever, they're still not going to see that, right? Like, one of the things about the Charms bar that drove everybody nuts is if you accidentally scroll to the bottom right-hand side of the screen with the keyboard and mouse, or if you moved your thumb in from the right, those things pop up, right? It drove people insane, but it showed you what was there, right? And I wonder if there is some version of that that's non-intrusive that would maybe make sense. I think if somebody figures that out, they're gonna be sitting pretty happy, like, I'm the one who designed the replacement hamburger menu.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You just
all right,
never know.
I'm ready to move on, Kevin.
All right, so the app and entertainment picks.
So listener engagement, we want your feedback on this. Hit us up on Twitter at Tech Informist, or me at JJ Hammond Music, or Kevin at Kevin Harville. And we want to know what you think of the hamburger menu, and or what its replacement would be, not only just on mobile sites but on apps. So app and entertainment picks of the week. Okay, guys, book pick for me this week. If you are at all into fantasy or sci-fi, this book is for you. The Legend of Huma. It was written a long time ago, but published by D&D Books. It is a great read. So it's The Legend of Huma, H-U-M-A, not Humira or whatever, which is the sleep aid that almost kills you. It's a great read. You're just gonna like it. You're gonna have to trust me on that. Now, I never played D&D. I've always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but believe it or not, I never have. But but they do a lot in the form of artistry. They publish books and all this other kind of thing. But this in particular, this story was just a really, really good book. So I would say everybody go check that out. Kevin, you're up.
All right, so I've got two things here, and forgive me if I've already picked this TV show. It's called The Slap, and it's on NBC. It's very interesting. It's about 3 episodes in right now, and it's basically it starts off with a Greek family. They're all having a barbecue to celebrate one of the characters' birthdays, and this one little boy is kind of being a little monster, you would kind of say. He's just being a holy terror, as parents would like to say, swinging a baseball bat at other kids and stuff like this, and just being a total brat. And one of the dads of one of the other children, comes down and because the boy's parents are not handling the situation, they're just trying to be real passive, and so he comes down and the boy's swinging the bat at him, so he grabs the bat and he's telling him you can't do this. Why are you doing this? And all of a sudden the boy kicks him in the shin. So in response, he's just a very aggressive individual, and he smacks him upside the head. And just all heck is breaking loose on the show now because of this. So it could be lawsuits or going to court and this and that, and it's a very interesting story. So it's very interesting. I definitely recommend checking it out. Season 3 of House of Cards is available now. Came out last night at midnight Pacific Standard Time. So get cracking on that if you are House of Cards fans. I know we mentioned that last episode. And I do have a book pick. And it's by a local St. Louis author, Chris Reimer. It's called Happy Work. It's a parable about workplaces. And it's about a fictitious company, and a person is coming in as a consultant to try to get a company straightened out financially, to try to save the company from going into bankruptcy or, by taken over by the banks, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm about 6-7 chapters in. It's a pretty good book so far. You can pick it up on Amazon for about $13-14 right now, and you can get the Kindle version for like $10. So go to Amazon and do a search for Happy Work by Chris Reimer. Very, very good book. That's all I've got. That's all I've got.
Kevin, take us home, buddy.
Take us home. So as one of the first times here, it looks like we might have to start paying to upgrade the chat room, because it looks like we filled it up today. So thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat room.
Oh, yeah. Eddie, thank you. I forgot. Fable and Neverwinter are going to be on Xbox One, but more importantly, Fable's going to be free to play. So I'm totally checking that out.
Yep. Fable Legends.
That is dope. That is really cool. I don't know. I kind of feel like the guys and gals, whatever in the chat room, I think it's like you're part of an exclusive club. You get to have a direct line of sight to us. I think that's kind of gorgeous. So I don't know. We may play,
and it's a first come first serve kind of thing. I mean, with the chat room, it's right now we're just using the free version of Chat Roll, and it's limited to 10. So the first 10 people that get there, it fills it up, and other people can watch. They just can't participate in the chat. So obviously it looks like we will have to start paying for that, and so we could always use your support.
Yeah.
So.
Anyways, don't forget, we do giveaways here. We're doing a giveaway. I'll even show this out here. Here we go. It's the Cincy thermostat. Don't forget to go check that out.
Yep. TheTechInformist.com/giveaway to get entered and all of that stuff. So I know. Thank you, everybody that have already joined and entered into that contest. But if you would like to submit any topics or any stories or give us any feedback, comments, suggestions, email those to contact@thetechinformist.com, or as JJ has said, hit us up on Twitter or other social media at JJ Hammond Music, at Kevin Harvell, 2 L's, and on Twitter. So that does it for another episode of the Tech Informist. We would like to thank all the listeners and viewers, and again, thank you everybody in the chat room. So from everyone here at the Tech Informist, have a great weekend, consider yourself informed, and until next time, we are out.